Shark Week Day 4. Holy crap. Honestly, this has probably been my favorite day so far. I mean, it seems as though as the week goes on, they've just been increasing in like the actual shark research and making it more academic, but it's just been more interesting. Like these three shows tonight, peak. Our first show up, Expedition X Atomic Sharks. Now, this show is technically one of Josh Gates' shows. However, the main hosts were actually Phil and Heather, right? Some researchers that work with him. And this was honestly just a very interesting show. If you can't tell by the title, the premise of the show is that there's an area that was subjected to atomic testing, right? Nuclear testing. And they wanted to see if that nuclear testing had an effect on the shark population. Now, these researchers were doing a lot as far as trying to locate these sharks because it's very difficult to try and find these sharks in the wild, but even more difficult to try and locate sharks, specific sharks with specific genetic variations, right? They were looking mainly for two things, right? So they were taking samples of the local sharks in the area, right? And they were trying to see if there was any genetic variations in those sharks that may have been caused by exposure to the nuclear waste, right? They were also looking for any physical differences in typical sharks. In particular, there was one physical difference in the local nurse shark population. So nurse sharks are known for having two dorsal fins, but there was one that was photographed by a local fisherman, I'm assuming a local fisherman, that only had one dorsal fin. And if that's the case, and if that's something that is being spread throughout that population, then that's something that is very significant as far as the effects on the local fauna population, especially with those of the sharks. They were also looking to see if the behavior of these sharks might have been impacted, right, by the sharks being slightly more aggressive than their typical non-affected counterparts, right? So are these sharks being affected by this nuclear waste, both in a physical manner and a genetic manner, which would manifest behaviorally? Our second show up, Expedition Unknown Shark Secrets. Now, this was Josh Gates through and through, right? And I must admit, I actually do like his shows a lot. He's a very refreshing addition to Shark Week, all right? I do know that he was the main host for Shark Week a few years back and has pretty much stayed on ever since, right? But the way that he investigates is very entertaining. And although I do believe I did see some AI in the show, I feel that he uses CGI a little bit more. And I mean, it's not, of course, like the best. It's not movie quality, but the quality of his renditions are actually very good, right? And it doesn't give you like the kind of sloppy AI feel that some of the new tech does. So in this episode, he was actually recounting some shark history, right? Everything going back to the classic USS Indianapolis, right? And if you've watched Jaws, then you've more than likely heard about that very famous ship, right? He also went on about some shark attacks in the past, and there's like the history of shark attacks, like trying to date back and locate the very first recorded shark attack, which is a feat all on its own, but still very interesting. And it shows a very deep history between the interactions between humans and sharks. Our last show, and honestly my favorite show of the night, Alien Sharks, Untamed America. Now this show, of course, is to help promote and celebrate the 250th anniversary of America. But in this way, we're dealing with Forrest, right? Forrest Gallant. And he's definitely my top 5 in researchers for Shark Week. Very charismatic, knowledgeable, but doesn't seem like scary to approach, right? If anything, he's a friendly shark. But yeah, this episode was about highlighting some of the stranger sharks that are in American waters, which is always fun because then we're not just dealing with the typical sharks, right? Shark Week has a tendency, and to be honest, pop culture in general has a tendency of dealing with your typical sharks. Great whites, tiger sharks, bull sharks, hammerheads, and if there's a fifth shark out there, I mean, you can rotate it in, right? I did see another content creator say thresher sharks, right? But this show highlighted some of the other less popular sharks, which made it fun and more engaging and diversified the content. So I found this show extremely entertaining, right? And honestly, this guy had one of the best shots I think I've ever seen in Shark Week. That background, again, peak. And honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little jealous. He had one part where in his attempt to try and lure a shark in, they had a seafood boil. A floating seafood boil. Forrest, if you ever do that again, I would pay to be a part of that. Like, I got my money for my seafood boil because, oh my God, that was amazing. But yes, this show was my favorite of the night. And honestly, a worthy watch. So, Shark Week Day 4, excellent job. And I'm looking forward to Day 5, especially if you keep on this track. All right? But as always, I want more sharks!